on goes Muhammad Ali, arguably one of the greatest fighters of all times. And at the age of 12, defined winning as being the greatest, like most companies. But before he could ever earn the right, he was knocked to the canvas. The referee begins to count. 1, 2. Like most companies on their journey to excellence, Ali hired the best trainers, consultants, and bought the best tools in the fight industry. He even acquired a world-renowned trainer by the name of Angelo Dundee and the best cornerman, Bondini, who helped him coin the phrase, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. You better watch out for Muhammad Ali. But the most important part was the last part of that quote. You can't hit what you can't see. 3, 4, Ali sit up, and he thought about quitting early in his journey, like most companies. He was focused on his skills and his tools versus focusing on the process, on what it takes to be great. Ali sit up and he realized to eliminate constraints, you must commit to the process. He leaped to his feet, and the referee was holding him back. He couldn't wait to get to the other side of the ring. When the referee dropped his hands, Ali ran to the other side of the ring, and he hit the guy so hard they had to take his wife to the hospital first. Just 3 years later, Ali had earned the right to fight for the title. To fight a man by the name of Sonny Liston, a feared mob enforcer. Even the President of the United States called and advised him not to take that fight. Ali took that fight, and he knocked Sonny Liston out. And he ran, he leaped to the ropes, and he screamed, I shook up the world, I'm a bad man. What he meant to say was operational excellence. Okay? Now, on the way home from that fight, the president and the first lady stopped to have dinner, and they walked into this fancy restaurant, and they noticed a handsome person taking coats. It was the first lady's high school sweetheart. And the president looked over and he says, honey, just think, if you would have married him, you'd have been married to a doorman. She says, you clearly didn't learn anything from watching that fight. Because listen, if I would have married him, he would have been the president of the United States, not you. So what I want to talk about is how do you get people on board? And really what I'm going to talk about today is how we win. That journey around Ali was just around how we get so consumed with tools, but we need to talk about how we win. See, I work with organizations all over the world. And often when I walk in the door, I meet with the CEOs, and I meet with those leaders, I ask them, are you winning? And they immediately answer, yes, we are. But when I walk on the shop floor, and when I talk to the leaders and I talk to the people, and I say, are you winning? They have no idea. And in most cases, they don't know if they're winning or losing until the end of the month, and it's too late. Today, we're going to talk about how we win. How we define, align, and execute winning at every level of the organization. How do you get people aligned in your organization? Because winning, most people think it's everything. But let me assure you, what's everything is how you win. And so that's what we're going to talk about. Before we get started, I'm going to share a story of one of the greatest turnarounds in my career, and I did not want to go. I did not want to take the job. I was in Lawton, Oklahoma. We made 65,000 tires a day, 3,000 people. We had just won the Shingo Prize. Even Stephen Covey himself came to see it, and Mr. Shingo. I was excited, so I knew I was going to get promoted. So I was excited. Now listen, I'm a mama's boy, so you're going to hear that all day. I was excited. I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, I'm going to get the call. I'm going to get the call. I'm going to run North America. Yes, your baby made it. The phone rings, ring. I pick up the phone. Hello? It's the CEO. Hey, Billy Taylor, this is Rich Craig. I'm like, yes, sir. He said, we got a great opportunity for you. I said, yes, sir. He said, we want you to go to Fayetteville, North Carolina. That place like Gilligan's Island. You start out on a 3-day trip and you never come back. So I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, can you believe this? I'm not taking that job. That place, no, Mom. And my mother said something to me, and she says, I'm disappointed in you. I'll never forget it. She says, I'm going to get off the phone now, but I'm going to ask you a question. If a bird lands on the branch, does the bird trust the branch or does it trust its wings? She says, I've seen many birds land on branches, but what I've never seen is a branch break and the bird fall and die. I hung the phone up. I accepted that job. I went there, and I'm going to tell you, it was crazy. The place is called Fayetteville, North Carolina. They nicknamed it Fayette Nam. It was that bad. So I show up on night shift before undercover boss. I see this huge plant, and guess what? They're missing orders every day. Almost 5,000 orders. They're hemorrhaging money. But I want to go on the back shift, and I want to see, do people know what winning is? Let me start there as far as strategy. And you're going to hear me say things about secrets. I walked around, and you know what I saw? I saw a hidden factory. People were walking by things. They didn't know if we were winning. They were just managing the day-to-day. And then the union president, I'm walking with him, and he has a big wad of tobacco in his mouth. And we're walking around doing a gimbal walk. I thought it was a gimbal walk. He says, what do you think? So I want to know, does he know what winning is? I says, approximately how many people work here? He says, you want me to be honest? I'm thinking he'll say 3,000, 2,000. He said, repeat the question. I said, approximately how many people work here? He said, about half of them. Right, so I knew we had a problem. And so what we're going to talk about today, that plant went on to turn in less than 6 months. Well, I'm going to talk to you how good companies do it, how the companies I work with today do it. We're going to talk about defining winning, aligning winning, executing winning, and how do you inspire trust. How would you answer these questions if I asked you about deliberate clarity? Do people and teams in your organization know what winning is? How would you answer that question at every level? 2, does every individual know what they own and how they contribute to winning in your organization? 3, do you have a daily management system, deliberate practice that lets people know the score? We are wired to the score. Since we were kids, we got report cards. All those things we do, we've been trained to know the score. So if we don't know the score, then we don't know how to call to action or when there's a call to action. And last, do you have touch points for governance? Daily, weekly, monthly. So we're going to talk about that. That's important. Let's start with deliberate clarity. Defining winning. Leaders must set clear visions and strategies and standards. If you're going to lead a transformation, it starts with deliberate clarity. So what do I mean by deliberate clarity? Write this down. You can't manage a secret. You cannot manage a secret. That means, is your strategy a secret? Most people do Hoshin Connery, they do the X matrix. They put it in their laptop and they put it on the wall, and guess what? Therefore, it becomes a secret. Your standards, are they a secret? Most people do great jobs of writing documents, but they do a poor job of implementing and holding to the standards and your performance. Do people know the score? And the most critical is what you own. Is it a secret? So why is that important? I want everybody real quick, on the count of 3, I want you to write the word no down. 1, 2, 3. Write down no. Okay, no cheating. If you wrote down the word N-O, raise your hand. Look around the room. If you wrote K-N-O-W, raise your hand. Pause, look. Very few hands went up. And some of them probably saw me speak before. All right? Now, let me go in with this. When you think no, think about you as a leader in your organization. Here's what your mind thinks. Stop, fear, failure, don't go forward. But your mind says opportunity is nowhere. When people think no, you do a good job of exposing secrets. People understand what you're doing. They embrace what you're doing. They take action. But look at this. It says opportunity is now here. So when you do a great job of communicating your standards, communicating what winning is, communicating what people own, and put that inside of your operating system, change happens organically. Because people don't resist change. They resist change being done to them. They embrace change when it's done with them. So those are my rings there, and I want to tell you a little story about the standards. I was a great football player when I was in the 8th grade. Man, I could run that ball. Let me go get my rings. I like to wear them every now and then. Because listen, the older I get, the better I was, okay? I used to line up in that backfield. I had a nickname. They called me BT Express. I'd line up in the backfield. I was so good. When they pitched me the ball, before I could even start running, the band played the fight song. Right? Touchdown, Taylor. My mother could care less. I remember in the 8th grade, she sit me and my brothers down, and she says to me and my brothers, if you make anything less than a B, you can't play. Texas rules said you could fail 2 classes and still be eligible. A week before the state championship game, we are undefeated, favored to win by 20 points. Report cards come in, and I take my report card in, and I give it to my mom, and I walk to my room, and she says, Billy Ray, come on back in here, baby. I said, yes, ma'am. She says, what is this? I said, Mom, I made all A's and 1 F in home economics. I'm okay. She says, no, you're done. I said, no, Mom, we're good. I'm eligible. She said, no, not by my standards. I want you to think of it from a leadership perspective. I remember the athletic director coming by, the principal coming by, the coaches coming by to sit down with my mom, my plant manager, and she says to all of them, you're done. And she says, if you want to talk to me about the standard, you're welcome to stay. I knew she's going to let me play. On game day, I'm sitting on the couch. I'm ready to go. Laid out my socks. My buddies walk by and catch the bus. They play the game without me. They lose 54-0. First thing I said to my mom was, you're not fair. Write this down. In the absence of ownership comes blame. So if you don't make it known what people own in your strategy, they're going to blame you. Your kids will blame you. In the absence of ownership comes blame. I still didn't get it. So guess what? They play the game, they lose it. My friends are disappointed, I think. We go on with life. My best friend gets killed in a motorcycle accident. I go home to the funeral. All my old buddies are around the coffin, and I get there the day of. I fly in that night, and he says he wanted to talk to you, and he wanted to tell you we envied you growing up. We envied the fact that your mother held you to a different standard. We don't understand the things that happen with football. We don't even care about the score of that game. We've raised our kids based on what? The standard. I still didn't get it until my mother was in hospice, and I'm sitting there, and I'm crying, and I said, Mom, I'm not ready for you to go. She said, no, it's my time. She said, but I need to share something with you around transformations and courage. I cried weeks. I wanted to let you play that day. I thought I made a mistake, but baby, you got to understand, leadership is hard. Leadership requires holding to your standard. Now, standards are not monuments, but you have to earn the right to change those standards. She says, it's my time to go. And I look at you today as I know I did a great job of holding you and your brothers to the standard. And you know what? My mother was right. Not one of these rings are because I played. When the Dallas Mavericks built their G League team, they gave me 2 rings, these 2. And this is my son's ring from St. Vincent St. Mary. So I wasn't that good at football anyway. All right? So, why am I saying that? Excellence starts with the standard. And why do I say that? I want you to think about, are you holding people to the standard? One of the greatest coaches I've ever seen walked on stage at a clinic, and everybody in the room was filled just like this one. From the Nick Sabans, the Bill Belichick, everybody wanted to know, how does this person win consistently, time and time again? This plate, he walked out, he says, the key to winning starts with the standard. This plate is 17 inches. It's home plate. What's interesting, if you play Little League baseball, home plate's 17 inches. If you play high school baseball, minor league, make it to the pros, how big is home plate? 17 inches. It's the standard. Leaders and parents and spouses, they all start to tank when they try to widen the plate. You can't widen the plate. You have to stick to the standards. That's why you wrote them. It provides consistency. Now, wait a minute. What does that mean in business? How many of you walk by unsafe situations or people not wearing their PPE and you just, or you walk by people not following quality standards, should not be, and you walk by it? Write this down. What you accept, you can't change. If you're a leader, if you're a parent, I have a daughter. She started dating. She said, Dad, give me some advice. I said, honey, first of all, dating is like hiring a new employee. The best you're going to get is the first 30 days. Okay? Not doing it out there, you got to fire them. Okay? Second of all, what you accept, you can't change. And so, as you start to do this, don't widen the plate. When you start to go to your factories and you talk operational excellence, the way it stays in place is you hold to the standard. That's the key to sustainability. Remember what I said, in the absence of ownership comes blame. I want to do an exercise with all of you to prove the point. I want everybody to stand up. We're going to exercise. I'm going to give you the standard work. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to put our hands up. We're going to do spirit fingers. We're going to go to the left. We're going to count to 3. We're going to go to the right. We're going to count to 3. And then in the middle, we're going to come together on the count of 3. We're going to clap. Any questions? Here we go. Hands up. To the left. 1, 2, 3. To the right. 1, 2, 3. In the middle. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Now, I clearly asked y'all to clap on 3. So why did you clap on 2? Somebody be honest now. Say it again. Oh, so you're going to blame me like I said. See? See what I mean? See? In the absence of ownership comes blame. But let me share something with you. Could you please come to the stage? Yes. I want to make sure I sign that and get a selfie with you. You know why? I can't manage a secret. you told me the truth. I value that. See, when it's uncomfortable, we don't do that as leaders. Because most of us say we'll take action, but you won't. Most of us say we're committed, and I did this in my session. I love giving my credit card away. And if you've seen me speak, please don't ruin it for somebody else. I love giving it away. I normally pull it out and I say, listen, it's unlimited. I love giving my credit card away. But I don't give it to people that don't take action. I love giving it away. I'm going to come down stage and make sure we're all aligned, because somebody may think I'm playing. I am serious. Let me go around here with my platinum card. High five. Mark, Luke, platinum. Josh, Ginger. I love that smile. I love giving my card away. I love giving it away. I love giving it away. Tammy, it's real. Platinum. See? Ashley, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You seem like a nice person. First of all, I like the smile. Let me go in here for a second. Ashley, let me tell you, listen, you're a nice person. Here.
You sure? Okay. Thank you.
Pause. When you're talking about ownership, psychological safety is just as important as physical safety. When I offered unlimited, this group didn't do anything. In fact, you were about to, right? And then when I went to Ashley, she took my 5. But more importantly, she's chomping at the bits to give it back to me. Look at her. Right? Yeah. But when you involve and you create this psychological space, I'm going to talk a little more about this, Ashley, you're willing to give me your best now. Because I was honest with you about the book, you're willing to come back and talk to me about real issues. As a leader, I just created this psychological safe space to drive change. And it wasn't about differences. It wasn't about you're a female, I'm a male. We embraced our differences. I want the best talent I can get. You know what? I never take that back. I write on it, take action, because guess what? Everyone in this room, somebody's going to tell you what you can't do. It's not going to be your glass ceiling, it's going to be your sticky floor. Before I leave, I want to take action on that for you, frame it. Because that's how you drive change. You have to be committed to driving change, committed to taking action. Because in the absence of ownership comes blame. If you don't own it, when I fail, Mark, I don't say, you failed, I did something wrong. The accountant that did me wrong, I said, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at me for trusting you. Please have a seat. When you're driving change and you're doing strategy deployment, here's the formula for success. Strategy plus execution equals results. If it's that simple, Billy, why do so many companies fail? Simple. The plus, who owns what in the strategy? No matter what project team you're on, no matter what you're doing, be very clear on who owns what, or people are going to blame. Here's what happens in most companies, and I'm seeing it happening now. They come up with this big strategy and they say, our goal is to make $9 million. And then we make $8 million. What happens? We get everybody in the room. We shoot and then we aim, right? We get everybody in the room and says, okay, we're going to stop spending, stop traveling, stop training, no catering. Get your ink pen from the conference and bring it back. We don't have no money. And then here's what your organization looks like. They think you're dumping on them. What we do is, and as a barcode, you can get this on the table, we build on a strategy on a page with every single team. That's major, safety, quality. We focus on CPIs, your critical performance indicator. KPAs, not KBIs, key performance actions. And then we measure those through KPIs. So if I want to lose weight, standing on the scale is the KPI. I focus on, I'm going to walk 2 miles a day, I'm going to eat 2,000 calories a day, and I'm going to get 8 hours of sleep. Then I go stand on the scale and look at if my actions are driving the results. Here's a sample about my health. And you'll get this. My purpose is to get healthy by losing 50 pounds. I need to know my current state. What's my strengths? I like to eat salads. What's my weaknesses? I also like to eat candy. What's my opportunities? I don't have a gym, but there's one down the street. What's my threats? What can sink my ship? My mother-in-law lives with us and she bakes cakes every day. What's my CPI? My weight. What are my actions? Where I'm going to focus? Eating, working out. I'm going to track that. How am I going to measure that with my KPIs? And now on a strategy on a page, I can tell you within 10 seconds why my strategy is failing. I'm 2 pounds off of my target because I ate too much chocolate, too much pizza, and guess what? I'm not sleeping enough. What we do is take that strategy, break that strategy down in a system, then we assign the owners to that strategy, then we assign the targets. So when we miss by 1 million, we know who to go talk to. In fact, if you're not careful and you don't have a process, you would think Region 1 is causing you to fail based on what's on the stream. When you start to look at it, Region 1 and Region 2 is bad. It just has the plant number 6 is the best plant in the company. And so that's why it's critically important to align that so that you have a strategy, an owner, and now you can look at execution. This is how strategy deployment really works. Because here's what happens when you don't do that effectively. You think it's accountability. 5% of people in most organizations think they make everything happen. 15% watch, 80% of the people just wait. We tell people to flip the pyramid. This is where your gimbal walks. 80% of the people should be making things happen. 15% should be talking about enabling and daily management systems, and 5% focus on their vision and strategy. This is where organizations start to win. Because here's a staggering fact. 85% of leadership teams spend less than 1 hour a month on their strategy. Half of them don't spend any time. So basically, oftentimes we build a strategy and put it in the desk drawer and it's done. We have no process to come back and revisit it. Remember, in the absence of ownership comes blame. And thus says, once you have that strategy, now you talk about what's your management process. What's that routine that you follow every day? And what I mean by that is good teams focus on how we win, how we work, and where we focus. When we turned around Goodyear, that's what we focused on. How we win, how we work, and where we focus. And so then what we said was, we're going to get away from just tools. Because when tools lead, failure follows. This is the thing we always said. I want you to write this down. Whenever you implement a new process or system, be hard on the process so you can lead easy on the people. Be rigorous on the process so you can lead easy on the people. And once you get that right, then what happens is, when I first started doing 5S, I had events. Let's go do a 5S event. Let's do 5S consulting. And then within 2 or 3 weeks, it was back to looking the same way. When we actually moved it into a process where the people owned it, so in our huddle boards, there's the KPA side, and then there's the KPI side. So when they start the shift, instead of doing a huddle, singing Kumbaya, they said, we walked our area, there were no unsafe conditions. If it's red, you turn it red and you tell what you did about it. Housekeeping, when you accepted your area, was it clean? Red or green. When you left your area, was it clean? So what started to happen was when we did this, here's what it looked like. No retraining. We just embedded it in the process. Because what happens after that, you get so caught up in the tools, and you should get caught up in your management system. Your touch points, your daily operating reviews, your weekly and monthly. And now you build this cycle around touch points, and guess what? You make people visible, they'll make you valuable. So people, if you show that interest and they start to look at it, then you start to drive change. And people need to know the score. So think about it like this. If you're bowling and there's a curtain and you never saw how many pins you knocked down, the first roll is impression. That's around the hype, when everybody gets hyped up about CI. But then after that, the curtain comes down and you don't know how many pins you knocked down. It's not exciting anymore. The great teams make sure people know the score, know if you're winning. Because think about it, since we were kids, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. When you talk about Iowa State's looking pretty good this year, right? The thrill of victory. Sorry, Tracy. The agony of defeat, too, with Iowa, all right? But it's that emotional tie, but more important, it's a call to action. So let me talk about why the scoreboards are so critical. Imagine this scoreboard. People want to measure everything. There's 1 minute on the clock. We're the home team. 3 timeouts, fourth quarter, first down and 10. What should we do? We don't know. But if the scoreboard says we're up by 40, we're going to run the clock out, right? Let some kids play. But if it's 0-7, and if I want to kick a field goal, what are you going to tell me? It's not going to win. So why is that important? You got to have a system to let you know the score. Be careful of having high-tech systems. High-tech systems create secrets. Although it seems convenient, high-tech systems should be at your executive level and leaders. When we walk into organizations, we go in, we call it 5 clicks. We create a system where here's a strategy. There's a performance map. There's your improvement cycle, trend charts, tracking our actions. And we have a system that gives an org chart that lets you know if your strategy is working or not. But when we just did this, the organization failed. Because leaders thought they knew everything. Accountants thought they knew everything. We connected that to the high touch. Be mindful. High tech, low touch are for executives and managers. High touch, low tech is where change happens. All right, anything we put up, we do a 10-second rule. I don't put a bulletin board up unless I can walk 10 feet away and turn around in 10 seconds or less and see what's going on. When I build war rooms, 10 seconds or less. And let me give you some demonstrations. This is my war room in North America when we laid the change. Clarity. Basically, we built the strategy. The pictures are who owns what. The performance, as you can see, those trend charts. We had the actual KPIs, but let me really break it down to you. This is North America. The far right, are we profitable? Yes. Second line is engineering. Are we releasing products on time? No. What about HR? Yeah, we got enough people. Operations? No. So in 10 seconds or less, I can tell you how North America was running. But now let me go below North America. All of those plants were driving my profitability. Billy, are you profitable? Yes. How many plants are not profitable? 2. Which plants? Topeka and ICM. Let's go to the left, engineering. How many plants are not releasing products on time? 4. Billy, what about HR? I got enough people. What's my best running plant? The plant at the bottom, second from the bottom. What's my worst running plant? Third from the bottom. I could tell in 10 seconds or less over 11,000 people what was wrong. When I went in a plant, same philosophy. Safety, quality, who's the owner? How are we trending? How we look by department? CPI, 10 seconds or less. So when you get caught up in building boards that have the information you wanted, that's the problem. Go to the source and hear the voice of that team. Even my janitor wanted in on the action. Billy Taylor, I want my sign out front. I want to talk about safety. Everybody walks by this plant, and guess what? I want to create a tour admission card. So anyone comes to visit our plant, I'm going to give them this card. That's how they get in. I am not letting them out unless they give me at least 3 improvement items. He said, so Billy, that's the new process for people coming to visit our plant because that will help us get better. Do you agree, Mr. Taylor? I said, absolutely, except for corporate headquarters. If they come, you just let them out. I don't care what to tell them. All right? All right. So here's the fun part. I've done a lot of the technical stuff around what I see drives change, but here's the most important part, the leadership part. The leadership chain reaction. How do you change cultures and keep those changes in place? It starts with leadership. And let me say, the leadership chain reaction is how the leaders impact your teams. And it's not just the leaders at the top, it's everyone. It's if you're a little league coach, if you're a parent, it's a leadership chain reaction. You set the clear vision. You engage the team. You drive ownership. You are the tone setter for culture, and you're the example. So I'm going to have fun. I'm done coaching. I want to talk about how change really happens, the things that people don't talk about. And so I'm going to start here, creating a leadership chain reaction. This is the CEO of Michigan Medical. And she said, Billy Taylor, I want you to come help us speak and give a keynote. 1,000 doctors. I'm like, sure. She said, wear a pink shirt, pink tie, pink suit, pink socks. I'm like, hey, I can do the pink socks, pink shirt, pink tie. I'm not walking to the airport in a pink suit. So I show up, I get there, and she says, Billy Taylor, now that you've done your keynote, I want you to come up and we're going to dance. I should have knew something was wrong when I saw that pink princess outfit and she's a CEO. She says, Billy, come up front. I come up front. I said, okay, let's go. Now I'm thinking she's getting ready to put on a little country and western. I'm ready. I'm a brother. I'm stereotyping myself. I can dance. And she want to put on a little Kenny Chesney. I'm ready to do a little line dance. I'm ready to go. The music comes on and I am shocked. She's standing there. The music comes on. It's blaring. It says, so watch me whip. So watch me nay-nay. I look, I'm like, what the heck are you thinking? You're the CEO. You're 50-something. You're white. She never looks at me. What do you think she starts doing? What do you think I start doing? What do you think 1,000 doctors start doing? Right? What did she do as a leader? She created a safe environment to change. That's the starting point. How do you create that safe environment to change? I tell my kids, I'll never get mad at you for telling me the truth. Right? It was stated to me earlier, one of my quotes. As a parent, it's just like being a leader. If you fight your kids' fights, you will steal their victories. If you fight their battles, you will steal their victories. Also, what we learned is most of you have your meetings and they're not impactful because people can't be transparent. And often reality isn't what you think it is. Most of you walk in your meetings, it's like going up to the mother with the baby carriage, right? In the grocery store, you walk up to the baby carriage, and some of you say, well, how does my baby look? What do? You walk up in that baby carriage, and you do what? You lie. You look down, and you say, oh, that baby's so cute. It's so precious. But when you walk away, some of you get rude. It doesn't look like the father. That's an ugly baby. Now in business, there are no ugly babies. I had to do my daughter's hair once. My wife says, you made our baby ugly. I said, you never showed me how to do hair. the baby's not the problem, we're the problem. And so as leaders, have you created that environment? Because when I went into organizations, here's what our ugly babies were. It was around trust. It wasn't about spending money. It was creating that level of transparency to know what we needed to fix. Because behaviors you can see, mindsets you can't. And so leaders focus so much on behaviors rather than influencing mindsets. And if people know you care, they know you trust them, they'll change for you. As a leader, I can't please everyone. I went to some of the remote areas, and it was we had mirror exercise. We did a biannual mirror exercise where we set up this station where people could come in anonymous, and we specifically wanted feedback on certain things. And they put the sticky notes up. And we got a reflection of what reality was, and that's how we knew what our ugly babies were. And so, but let me share something with you. Winning is more than just the numbers. As humans, we have the need to be heard, the need to understand, the need to matter, the need to be emancipated. I mean, the need to be free to do things inside the workplace, to be trusted in the workplace. And I often say, ask people what they need. Create a system where you can analyze and see if people understand your purpose. Why do you have a scoreboard? It provides insight to what you need to act upon. And remember, trust. I want to share a story with you. This is my son, Alex. He played at St. Vincent St. Mary's High School, and they were two-time state champions. And on the last day before the last state championship game, he informed me he never was going to play again. He just wanted to go to school. But let me share the story before that happened. Every single day I took my son to school at 5:30 before I went to work, and he put up 200 shots. And the goal was to actually shoot over 70%. They were a nationally ranked team, and I said, son, if you can shoot that good, you will make that team. And every day we went, every day, and he got so consistent. And they win the first state championship. And they were preparing for the second state championship, and this was the last day. And I said, son, I've got to drop you off because I've got a board meeting that's going to start, and I need to prep, so I'm not going to be here. Send me a picture as proof to score, and let me know how you did. So he sends me this picture that's on the right. This is the actual picture, and he shot he shot 300 shots and 87%. Amazing. I never got to the results. When I saw that picture, I looked at my son's face, and it was clear he had been crying or something wasn't right. I jumped out of the boardroom and go grab my phone, and I called my son. I says, Alex, hey, what's going on, man? Everything okay? He says, Dad, I shot 87%. What do you mean? I said, no, man, I'm looking at your face, dude. Something's not right, man. You okay? He said, no, Dad, it's not. He said, Dad, can I share something with you? He said, it hit me. He says, that 87% don't mean anything because you weren't here. He says, Dad, today it hit me is I'll never remember all the games you came to. And you coached probably 1,000. But I'll never forget the 2 you missed. Because I always wanted you there. Dad, it wasn't the presence you gave me, it was your presence you showed me. And that's what you do well as a leader. He says, Dad, you got something wrong. Good leaders measure what matters. Great leaders embrace the fact that everything that matters can't be measured. He says, Dad, after today, I never want to play. I just want to grow as an adult. He said, but you need to know this, The greatest gift is the value proposition, letting me know I'm valued. My son played that game. They won. If you see that picture there, I want to share something with you. When they won the state championship on the left, there's no one by me and my son. The room is cleared out. It's just him and I. And now we're going to talk about the trophy. Because at the end of the game, he ran over to me and we cried. We cried for about 4 minutes. And he texted me, "Dad, I'm crying in the car thinking about you, Dad. Thank you for always being there for me. I love you so much. You don't understand what you've done for me." My reply back was, "I love you, son, more than what's comprehensive. You bring me joy. I'm blessed, God. Let me be your dad." Why do I bring that up? The impact that you have on people is far greater than what's in their pocketbook. Your impact on leadership and change is how do you make people feel? I went back to that place. It was asking me, how are they running? I went back 5 years later. When I first went there, I bought everybody in the plant a football jersey with the number 38 on it. Because they needed to know we needed to make 38,000 tires. The market needed 36. 2,000 tires more gave us a whole day we could PM. I bought everybody a shirt to let them know what winning was. Even the union presidents put the shirt on when the CEO came. We were totally aligned. Within 6 months, we went from 31,000 to 38,000 tires a day, spending $1,000 less a day in costs. They were the primary reason Goodyear started to turn around. But I remember walking back to the plant to visit, and they lined the aisles with those jerseys to let me know that nothing's changed since I left. I remember crying and having to walk out of the back door. And my tour escort was Sammy the janitor. Every morning, Sammy and I had coffee. And the one day he got mad at me and he told me, "Don't you think I can buy sometime?" Make people visible, and they will make you valuable. Please write that down. Make people visible, and they will make you valuable. Here's some key points I want to leave you with. Everything that matters cannot be measured. So don't get so technical. Remember, you can't manage a secret. These are the 3 things you have to check the box on when you're talking about winning. Have you defined winning? Have you aligned yourself to win where people know what they own? And then do you have a management system that shows you? And it's not just manufacturing. Whether you're a hospital, if you're on a project, remember the human needs. The standard. What you accept, you cannot change. Again, I remember as a 27-year-old leading the team, when people were late for meeting, I put a cup in the middle of the table and says, "If you're late, put a quarter in the cup. And then we're going to buy donuts." I remember when I called my mother to tell her what I did. Oh, boy. She says, "Can you explain that again?" You know what? I said, "Yeah, Mom, I'm going to do this." She says, "Do what?" She says, "Boy, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. You're rewarding bad behavior." She says, "Tell them 3 times, be very clear on what the expectations are. And then also tell them the difference between a fact and an excuse is timing. Don't call me after the meeting and tell me you're going to be late. Call me before the meeting." She says, "And now lock the door." After the 3rd time, lock the door. The best coach that I've ever seen was Nick Saban. I'm not an Alabama fan, but Nick Saban holds you to the standard. And that's why he won year and year and year and year and year over year over year. You know why? If you came from the worst neighborhood in Compton, California, or you came from Beverly Hills, Rodeo Drive. On game day, you couldn't tell who was from where because they all followed the what? Standard. And you know what? If they were winning 54-0 and that offensive lineman or something jumped offside, I remember Nick Saban calling us timeout and getting that coach and says, you need to fix that. Because when we're down, if that becomes acceptable, they'll do it again. What's the standard? Now, people say, well, Billy, you can't be that crude. Well, let me tell you a story. A kid wanted to leave practice early in Alabama. And Nick says, absolutely not. He says, Nick, he got to get to a funeral. He says, absolutely not. They go to practice. What they didn't know is Nick had a whole police escort and a limo to get that kid to the airport on time. In fact, was willing to charter a plane to get that kid home. He says, why did you do that, coach? He says, it wasn't for him. Somebody else will take advantage of that down the road. The standard's the standard. So what's your standard? I'm going to leave this up before I end with this story. And it's the story of my life. If you download this, you can get the purpose map, you can get the slides, you can get the mirror exercise. All that's free. We're not selling anything, okay? And I do think they're going to give you a book. But I want to share the story with you when I close. I was coaching a girls' track team in Freeport, Illinois, and we were called the Freeport Pretzels. Now, how tough can you be if you're a fighting pretzel? Right? We're in the country, 20,000 people, and we started this track team, and I was fresh out of college, so I became the assistant coach, or the coach, and we're there, and we did well at first, and then we had to go and compete in Chicago. So here's where I learned my greatest lesson on leadership. We get there, I said, I'm going to drop you off, warm up, ladies, I'm going to park the car. So I dropped them off, I parked the car, and I'm getting ready to go and get my clipboard and stuff ready, and they're not warming up. And I'm looking, I'm like, why aren't y'all warming up? I go to the captain, Katie. I'm like, hey, Katie. And she actually went to Iowa. Katie, why aren't you warming up? She looked at me and she said, Coach, you didn't tell us. We were number 49 out of 50 teams. Coach, this is horrible. I'm like, Katie, what do you mean? What does it mean? The 16-year-old, what does it mean? Look, them black girls too fast. So I had 3 little white girls and 1 black girl on this team. So I get them in the car and say, well, go to your room. I said, I want you to go to your room and come back down and convince me that you're ready to compete because you're better than that. So they all go up to the room, and the little black girl French braids the little white girl's hair. So it looks like they can run faster. So they come downstairs looking like 3 little white black girls. Like, that's going to make them run faster. So they come downstairs. They were smart. They're like, Coach, we want to change y'all to the relay team. We want to put the fastest girl first, the second fastest girl, and then the third fastest girl. And, Coach, we want to put the donkey on the end. We want the slowest girl on the end. I'm like, no way. You're not going to embarrass that freshman. She says, no, Coach, trust us. And, Coach, we need your rule book. And I says, absolutely not. The assistant coach says, Coach, you've asked them to trust you all year. You got to let them do it. So they go to their room. The next morning they come downstairs. They don't even speak to me. Still got their hair braided. Still look like 3 little white black girls. We get to the track. They line up. Everybody's got their fast girl. Bow! We're off. First exchange, back, boom. Second exchange, back, boom. We're going to the last exchange, and we're ready. And my freshman, Angie Drew, is sitting there looking at her mark, and she is focused. And I'm praying. Her parents are going to kill me. Everybody's got their thoroughbred, and we got our donkey. She's sitting there, and when she hit her mark, baby Drew sprung out, and my girl yells, stop! Baby Drew says, boom, take off. What do you think every other team did? Before they realized what happened, we were 15 meters ahead of everybody. And so they go on to win the race. And so then I'm mad. I'm looking for Katie, my captain. Then I hear over the booth, could the head coach of Freeport High School please come to the protest? So I'm looking for Katie. I said, Katie, what were you thinking? Why did y'all do that? She goes, well, coach, listen. Nowhere in this rule book does it say we can't say stop. It says you have to have a cadence. Our cadence happens to be stop. If they can't focus, coach, that ain't our problem. What do you always tell us? Focus, focus, focus. That's why we did it. Give me that rule book. Yes, I'm the head coach of Freeport High School. We like to disqualify you. What do you think happened? I became a 17-year. Where in this rule book does it say we can't say stop? Yeah. Now, walking back, I said, ladies, you can't break the rules inside the rule. That's wrong. Someone will disqualify you. She says, no, coach. They're all crying. This is, coach, we need to prove something to ourselves. We learned something. Continuous improvement is that cycle. Coach, we want to change the order back. We're going to shorten up the exchange zone, take some risks. I'm going to get it in the front of the zone so Angie only has to run 80 meters. I'm going to run 110, and I'm going to give it away to the next slowest girl, and then the anchor is going to run another 110. Coach, we can do this. They sound the gun, pow, we're out. Baby Drew's in the game. Make the exchange, get to the anchor leg, we're dead even with everybody. And everybody's got their fastest girl, we got our fastest girl. The same girls get third overall in the state of Ohio. The only thing changed was that ownership. And so as you leading this change, remember that. Katie went on to get a full scholarship to the University of Iowa. She ran track for them. She did. Angie became the best. The donkey became the best of them all, broke the state record in the hurdles. So they all went on to have great careers. But my brightest day was watching, I think it was a news channel, and one of the kids says, one of the greatest inspirations around leadership was my coach. Hold to the standard. Hold yourself to the standard. Okay? With that being said, I want to thank y'all for having me. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Wow, I wish I had my camera so I could get a selfie, man. Y'all making me feel valued.
You want to take some questions?
Yeah, any questions? We did a breakfast this morning. I thought we had a great breakfast, very transparent. So you can ask me whatever you want to ask me, whether I was successful at it or not. I'll answer it. I'm very transparent. So anyone can ask me whatever you want to ask me. Yes?
Can I get your credit card?
All I got is a 5 now. You know, and one of the things, and I learned this one early, and I love having fun, as you know. Don't be ashamed or too proud in your role or too low in your role where you don't think you can ask anyone. Right? And again, my mother, she's a genius when it comes to just leadership. She's a genius. And I was asking my dad, how do you treat a woman? I remember being in the kitchen, Dad, I got my first date. How do I treat a woman? How do I do this? And I heard this little snickering over on the, I'm like, Mom, what are you laughing at? She said, what did you just ask him? I said, Dad, how do you treat a woman? She said, how in the hell does he know? All he knows is what I tell him. Right? Ask me, I'm the expert. And so I thought about that. I never forgot it, right? I go, I'm not ashamed to ask Sammy the janitor. I'm not ashamed. Matter of fact, I was asking, she says, Tracy, Houston has nothing. I need to do this. You've done it. I was here when this thing started, and I'm blown away on what it is now. And so those are the things that when you start to get great, right? My son is talking to me about streaming lean instead of playing lean on an 8-track or a cassette tape. He's telling me that, Dad, it needs a facelift on how y'all delivering the message. Questions? It's your time. Yes.
Hey, Billy.
Hey.
Is this on? Can you hear? Oh, okay.
Thank you.
You're
I also wanted to compliment your family. Your mom sounds like she was a great parent and leader. So my question is that you talked about the high touch, low tech, and the examples that you shared seem like they would work really well in a like in-person environment. How do you adapt for like virtual teams when they're all over the place?
So very good. We use what's called a connected business model. And basically, it's a system within a system where it's really high touch, high tech both. So if you're in that virtual setting, it's that system in place of governance. And I'll share with you before I go, it's that model where you're gonna be able to hold people accountable, and instead of touching it like this, you're touching it with a click. But it's very structured. So we did it in a hospital. We recently went down, my whole team went to a hospital in Texas, and they had the same problem. And we did high touch and high tech. What I would say to some companies, when you get mature enough, there's these screens that are out there that are touch screens that you have to put the data in though. You always want to have that touch. If I don't have that touch, it's not important. It's not important to me, right? It's just not important to me. So remember that touch, especially the closest to the source you get, that word touch, high touch. The lower you go in the organization, it has to be high touch. And the upper, high tech. Right now, we did I can't say their name, a huge organization, probably 15,000 people. And we had the CEO, we call it 5 clicks. The CEO can go in 5 clicks to why he was losing money right to the plant. And so it's actually was my thesis when I was going on my doctorate. I couldn't figure it out. And then we hyperlinked all these spreadsheets, and we did all this stuff, and then we finally got it to work. So I met with a lot of developers, software developers, college students, and we did this for over 2 years to build this. It's called Connect the Business Model. And we're giving it to companies. We're giving it to companies because we just want to prove it out. We didn't want to try to go to something and it wasn't working, you know. So high touch, even if it's a click. And I'll share with you before I go what it looks like. Any other questions? Yes. Go ahead and stand up.
We got one right here.
Go ahead.
Oh, hi there. So I work for state government, and I lovingly am called the redheaded stepchild because I am so well liked by people who want continuous improvement, mostly in leadership. So everyone's lives are getting improved. There's a lot of consensus building at let's say, the bottom of the pyramid. Who doesn't love making their jobs easier? There's that guy. He makes your job easier. But how do I apply all of this stuff to state government?
So, well, I would say it depends, but I'm not going to do that to you. It starts with what's the strategy, what's winning. And then when you're talking state government, you build those, I'll start with the strategy on the page. Once you get that type of alignment and clarity in government, actually, we're working with someone in Akron, Ohio. We're building their system. They were the frustration was they're not aligned. Everybody's got so many different branches to it, and it's getting everybody on the same page on what winning is. And so when you're talking even just the principles of lean, they're applicable anywhere, at a nursery, anywhere. But the key is to get clarity on what winning is, first of all, and then put those processes in place as they're needed, right? Don't get the wrench and then look for a bolt for it to fit on. And that's what happens even when we give stuff away. They try to make it fit everything. And some things are just not applicable. But first, getting that strategy right. That's the one thing I've really realized. I don't care if you're a project team. Get that alignment right. That's why we started the strategy on the page. It's a simple process to soak, and it clearly aligns everyone because the whole group puts it together. And often, I'm being totally transparent, we walk in the organization, some of them, the funniest one was I went to an organization and they did not want me there. It was horrible. And I say to the VP of IT, and I says, okay, clearly you don't want me to be here. I don't want to be here. I'm going to give you all your money back. I'm going to even pay for my plane ticket. Total refund. I don't want your business. I said, well, I'm going to ask you a question. Who's the leader? He says, I am. That's good. I says, okay, can you step out of the room? His team here, I said, so what's the strategy for IT? It looked like a Scooby-Doo commercial. And then we came back. I brought him back in the room. I said, if I did this with your team, would they do the same thing? Because you don't have a strategy from him. So do you have a strategy? Because I'm going to walk out there and get those people that are sitting at those cubicles, bring them in here to report to you and ask them the same question. And so you're disconnected and you don't have a model and you got all these tools and you come down, we want Six Sigma black belts, right? We want all this stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute. Get that strategy right first. And then he called me back. He goes, Billy, come on back in. Come on back in. We're great friends to this day. But, I mean, people were holding them hostage. Cyber attacks. It was crazy. But they didn't have a strategy. So they were firefighting. So get the strategy right. And remember, you have to hold those owners accountable. Reason why I love starting at the top, I've never had, 90% of the problem is not, 10% of the problem may be on the shop floor, 90% is up for leadership. Somebody else have a question?
Hi, so you've led formative change with some tenured teams. You kind of touched on it a little bit just with that example, but can you speak to how you create buy-in when you have, tenured people that you're collaborating with who are maybe set in their ways and hesitant to the change?
Yes. So, first thing comes to Captain CI. He's a 35-year veteran that said he wanted nothing to do with it, right? And he knew it all. And how we grade that, we involve them in the planning. We ask them their opinion. We get them in there. But then we get them involved in the early planning stages. Even the people on the shop floor, right? The maintenance tech that says, I'm not going to do 5S. And so when you take people and you ask them, if I walk to a maintenance cage, and here's what I would do often. I'd walk to the maintenance cage that was filthy, tools, everything. And I said, we're going to do 5S. And so before I tell them I'm going to do 5S, I'll ask this question. You should write this down. If you do this with your kids or anyone, what do you need from me? That is the most disarming question rather than why you're doing this. What do you need from me? So what I meant by that, I went to the person and I said, what do you need from me to get your maintenance cleaned up world class? Here's what do you need from me? Now, how can he answer that? He can't be negative. He can't be a smarty pants, right? And I'd always tell people, you can disagree with me all day long, just don't get cute with it. Because then I love getting cute back. All right? And I would always say that, don't get cute. You can do anything you want to say anything to me. Don't get cute with it. I mean, don't get personal and start attacking me, right? But when I did that, I said to him, what do you need from me? And he says, I need this, I need this. I said, okay, if I give you what you need and I give you the 5S process, will you help me with this? And he says, yes. And every week we started out with what's called the CI review. Basically what it was our leadership team sit on the front row. They only had 5 minutes to present out their project. All those naysayers, and you did one project, you got the silver. 3 the bronze, silver, and then you did 12 platinum, we gave you a Goodyear racing jacket. Every month we would actually give away a set of tires. What happened was everybody wanted their platinum. They wanted their racing jacket. And my boss came down and he goes, why are you spending $10,000 on T-shirts? And I really thought about it. I'm like, you just made $32 million and you're questioning me about some $10,000 T-shirts? Walk out there in the plant and see who all's wearing those T-shirts. That's a symbol that they own it. That's not a cost, that's an investment. That's proof that I care. So when you go there, do that, involve them in that way at any level. Sammy the janitor, hey, Billy, we got a big visit, the corporate, what to do with the floors? Sammy, I don't really know about that. You're my expert. What do you need from me to get the floors the way? This is what I want. What do you need? Well, boss, I need to do this, and tell you what, boss, I need to come in Saturday because they're just going to track it up, and I'm never going to get it that shiny. And I said, okay, come in Saturday. Want me to bring coffee? Right. That naysayer became, and then other thing, what I do, remember, and I love working with the union, so I never had a problem. But I had to have a meeting with everybody. I did a meeting 3 days a week with 30 people per meeting. 3 days a week, I earmarked that so that they can hear from me. They can hear about the successes. I can reinforce why we're changing. Because we want to know why. We as humans, we want to know why. And how do you get them engaged is through those communication cycles. Just keep them going, right? I can't tell my wife, I love my wife to death. But I can't say, hey, I love you. So last time I want to tell you, if anything changes, I'll let you know. I am not going to stay married, right? And so it's that reinforcing the message, that reinforcing what you're committed to as a leader. And Captain CI, it was funny, I have a video, he got 25 projects done. The person that said he didn't want it became the team lead and supporter or sponsor on 25 projects. And I was getting ready to leave. He came in, they rented him a Superman outfit. And on his last report out, he says, Captain CI, I got 25, I'm double platinum. And I remember, how do we change him? And he says, Billy, you made me feel a part of it. You didn't treat me like I was a gray beard. You didn't treat me like I was the old man. You made me feel a part of it. That's how. You're welcome. Any other questions? You got me now, you can ask me now. Don't say, I wish I'd have asked Billy Taylor that while he was up there. If somebody does, tell them, be quiet. You didn't ask him while he was up there. Yes.
I just wondered if you would sign my book and if you would take a picture with me.
I would love to take a picture with you. I love self, and I would love to post it at that. That's why I wish I had my camera, because I want to take a picture of this audience. This is one of the best audience. I think it's on the table over there. Don't leave, because I want this picture. Y'all have made my day. I got to go home tonight, but y'all are a great audience. And listen, I'm not just saying this. I went to a lot of conferences. From the breakfast this morning, you're a class act. You are a class act. Okay? Do y'all mind taking a selfie with me? I know it's a little corny, but not for me. All right. Thank you. All right. That's it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Such a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. Get out of your way.
Take your time. All right. Put it up later. One more round of applause for Billy, please. Thank you to those who kept saying, bring Billy back. Thank you. So it will come as no surprise to you after hearing Billy speak that his publisher has run out of his books. So we have quite a few here today. We may not have one for everyone. Our fantastic event team has a process ready. If we do run out, you'll be able to scan a QR code, enter your information, and we will ship you one when they come in. So yay for process, and yay for our event team, ready to execute on that. So yes. So you can, Billy's books are over here. Billy's over here, and he will be signing. Shelley, I know that was a request of yours, so he will be signing books. We'll have 2 lines going. If you want to grab a book and go, you certainly can do that, and then a line to stand in line and get Billy's autograph and spend a little time with him will be available to you also. So thank you again, Billy, and with that, we will vacate this room and head to breakouts after you either pick up your book or pick up your book and get a signature from Billy. Thanks, everybody.